Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar presented to you by the SAP Customer Experience Group. This is the 7th webinar in the current series about upgrading to SAP BusinessObjects BI Platform 4.1. My name is Adrian Paul from the SAP Customer Experience Group, and today's webinar is about the subject of upgrading BusinessObjects XI Release 2/3.1 to 4.1, and also updating BusinessObjects BI 4.0 to 4.1. This webinar will be presented to you by my SAP colleague, Merline Eckel. The list of all the webinars in this series has been published in SCN, and you may have seen this SCN page already, which contains the full webinar calendar. Now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce to you Merline Eckel. So it's over to you, Merline, and thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. So, as Adrian said, my name is Merline Eckel, and I'm Director of BI Solutions in the Go-to-Market team. We have a close relationship with our colleagues in the Customer Engagement Group, where we work together, especially in the topic around the adoption and upgrade into BI 4.1. As said, today's webinar is about upgrading an existing XI R2 or XI 3.x version into BI 4.1 or updating a BI 4.0 Service Pack X into a BI 4.1 deployment. But before we start talking actually about the process itself, we need to start discussing the most important topic, which is planning. How do we plan the overview of upgrading your existing landscape into the latest BI 4.1 builds? After we have been going through the planning, we will start discussing how does the approach goes if you have an XI build and you want to move over to BI 4.1 install. Once we close that one down, we will continue with update of an existing BI 4.x install into BI 4.1. So as said, the most important topic about upgrading as well as updating is all about your planning. Without the planning, you won't be able to be successful. So in an overall overview, how would your upgrade process look like? So typically you start with a project evaluation where you start looking into, okay, how can we do it? What are the reasons? Is my operating system or hardware sufficient to host a new version? What about sizing? Do I need to still the same hardware? What about my databases that I currently want to extract? Are they supported actually with the latest version? Or do I need to update those versions as well? Same for the CMS repository. How big is it? How many documents are we talking about? What content do we have? How about my security model? Do I want to start from scratch? All kind of questions that you need to start looking into before actually start upgrading your existing environment. When you have done all your prep work in that one, of course there is a particular point of time where you start thinking, let's start installing a sandbox of BI 4.1. So do some software installation, your database configuration, adopt all your security model depending on your recommendations, and do a pilot repository update out how to migrate your existing content or upgrade your existing content into a BI 4.1 platform. Once you have been doing this process and you have entirely sure that you have a security model that is correct, that fits your requirement, not breaking down, there are some new enhancements in the security model for BI 4.1, for instance, that we actually enable them. By default, it's switched off. So if there are new features, are my users now allowed to use it? Document data correctness. All the content I tested myself during my validation phases, are they successful? Do my documents still work? If there's any kind of a custom application, does it still work? Can I just copy and paste my customization? Or do I need to enhance or change my existing customization to fit in the new model of BI? Once I'm 100% secure and knowing what I'm going to do, I can start planning my downtime, do the real upgrade, train my users, and run the new application later on. That is on a high level. For the planning phase, it is important to understand the BI stack. And although you have an XI or R2 or XI 3.1 background, I can tell you and I can guarantee you BI 4.1 is different. It is better, but it's also different. There are some changes in the architecture that you need to understand, which reverts back to how you have been doing your sizing previously and how you should do it today. The upgrade process has been enhanced. Previously we had import wizard. Import wizard, you won't be able to find it in the BI 4.1 install because we changed the process. Our promotion management model has been changed, has been enhanced, and by that improved. How do I talk about portal and customization integrations? It's all changed. It's better. In the operations side, the same. Do I still have the same processes in place for setup and config? Do I need to deploy some new packages for deploying clients, for instance, into client installs? How do I do tuning? Backup and restore processes, do they need to be adopted or changed? Tracing, is that still the same? Auditing and so on. But also, actually, am I using the right tools? With BI 4.1 we have a lot more functionalities available. So maybe a desktop intelligence product existing in XI02 or XI3, would it be now finally interesting to start moving over to web intelligence? But also with the functionality of data federation, multi-source universes, I may be able to simplify my documents, having one universe instead of multiple, pushing back the logic of consolidating data from multiple systems into a backend instead of having this all being done on report level. So there are also opportunities that are driving potentially your changes in your skills. That also comes to the points like, are we talking about a technical or functional upgrade? Like, is it just because we have new applications available, or do we need some new functionalities? Like, for instance, the multi-source universe to ease and consolidate my BI streams. For whatever reason it is, at the end, the most recommendable approach is to identify a target. And I will come back to that one a bit later as well, but it's like, what is the best candidate to start looking for my first upgrade? Don't go for the most complex or picky users. Check it out. Can the content be upgraded? It's a validation phase. And stay focused. If you define the scope, stick to it. It is so tempting once in a while, oh, we'll just add this one as well because they are asking for it. And before you know, you will not complete your project and run out of time and budget, and people start asking you why. So we've already been talking about two things, upgrade and update. But so what is the difference? What is everything? It's kind of confusing because we're mixing terms and everyone is talking about various things. So we have a very clear one in that one. So if you move from a different platform, which for instance in this case is the classic BusinessObjects or the classic Crystal Reports Enterprise environment, where you moved it into the XI platform, that we could call a migration. It's a complete change in technology. But if we move from the XI platform to the BI platform, although there's a name change from XI to BI, the platform itself has not been changed. There's still the same model behind it, how our engines are working together and so on. And by that the complexity is lower. So don't scare back if you're like, if moving from Crystal Enterprise Classic or BusinessObjects Classic was a pain in the butt. So we're not doing any BI 4.1. It's close to be the same. So if I'm moving over from a BO Classic or a Crystal Enterprise Classic model, I first have to upgrade to the BOE XI platform. On the XI platform, as of XI02 SP2 and any version higher, you have a direct upgrade path into BI 4.1. No steps in between. And the tool to handle your upgrade and to support your upgrade is the upgrade management tool. So as I said, we have various approaches. And for some reason I missed a picture here, but do I do an in-place or an in-parallel upgrade? So an upgrade is on the same version. It's like you install a patch. For instance, you go from XI 3.1 SP1 to XI 3.1 SP7, or you go from BO 4.0 SP4 to a BI 4.1 SP4, which we call an in-place, because you basically update your existing environment. In parallel, we talk about having two systems running at the same time, which is also available if you go, for instance, from XI 3.1 to BI 4.1. And then we would more talk about an upgrade. One of those things is like, when I started back, it's like we talked about define a scope, define usable chunks that you want to split up your projects. Basically, there are two approaches: full system upgrade or a stage approach or an incremental upgrade. If you do a full one, it's all content. One system to maintain, there are definitely advantages. However, it would require a long downtime, because you have to go through your all steps, validation, everything, which can consume some time. So your downtime can be considerably longer compared to an incremental upgrade. And by an incremental upgrade, as I said, it's like you can select a particular project in advance. It's like, okay, these are not the most rocket science reports. These are not the most complaining customers. These are actually end users that are asking for the 4.1, so that they want to be early adopters. I won't say abuse them, but use those guys, use these end users to start up your initial project as being their first increment. And later on start building up, because the more complex it gets, but the more steps you've been taking, the more experienced you are in upgrading process, and the easier you can get, and the easier you will at the end deal with those so-called that you previously thought as a complex situation will be actually at the end very easy, because you have all the knowledge now. A full system upgrade considerations, it's very simple. You had a previous XIR2 or XI3 system, you build up a new system, you build in a freeze period, upgrade all stuff from XI into BI 4.1. You stop your old system and you bring your new system live, and you're gone. For a stage upgrade, the process is slightly more complex. You're not going to shut down anything, and you only lock down one folder by simply denying access. That can be explicitly denied, or by taking out some rights in the model, in your security model. You upgrade it, you validate it, and you release this particular project or this particular folder to the end users to start using the BI 4.1. And you slowly consume that process. Go with project B, continue with project C, and so on, and so on, and so on, until you've completed all content from your existing system and you the BI 4.1 platform, which can go live, and you can shut down your XI 3.1 or XIR2 system. So, continuing with the planning phase, how much effort will it take? So we have some indication of how long or how complex it would be to move over from XI 3.1 or into a BI 4X deployment. And let's start with the software. Well, complex, I wouldn't say so, but it means you have to do a complete new installation on new hardware. Of course, you then do a coexisting. You can have the XI deployment and the BI 4.1 deployment on one and the same hardware, as long as your hardware is capable of dealing with two platforms at the same time. The older database, it's in BI 4.1, you have a new order schema. You cannot just use the existing reports or the existing database for the BI 4.1 install. InfoView, it's a new interface. It's now called BI Launchpad. Much more end-user friendly. Users have more flexibility. They can actually point their own reports to their home page without a lot of effort. They get by default a listing and so on. Dashboard Builder is going to be relabeled. Encyclopedia and Performance Management have been end-of-lifed for BI 4.1, and you won't be able to find it there. So if you have any encyclopedia content that you want to reuse, I'm sorry to inform you, you won't be able. Performance Manager itself has been continued as a new, different project within the SAP product suite, and it's called SAP Strategy Manager, which is more capable of dealing with performance management requirements compared to the old performance management models, and therefore decided to just continue with the Strategy Manager product. This has been depreciated. They are still there. You can still use it. However, we will not invest in it anymore. The search functionality has been approved, so at the end, after upgrading, it means that your BI platform will have to rebuild the index. Same for Crystal Reports. All reports are being upgraded. Desktop Intelligence is today with BI 4.1 available to be added into BI 4.1 product line. However, Desktop Intelligence is not shipped with 4.1. And we will have a dedicated webinar later on in the series talking about Desktop Intelligence, about its conversion, but also how to leverage Desktop Intelligence within a BI 4.1 environment. So I won't go into that topic too much. Excelsius has been relabeled into dashboards, and you can convert it. If you are using Flash custom built code within your dashboards, be aware that you have to update your Flash code, because instead of using Excelsius 2008 Flash 2, we currently moved over to use Flex 4. Explorer, only if you have Excel-based queries, you have to do manual re-indexing of it. If it's a universe-based, the upgrade management tool will automatically trigger a re-indexing of the indexes. Voyager being relabeled into Analysis Edition for OLAP, and they will be automatically created the new workspaces out of your existing system. Web Intelligence, fully upgraded, no changes, just a lot of new features. University Design Tool, no change, nothing. University Design Tool is still here. However, we added a new semantic layer engine, which is called Information Design Tool, which can support you with, for instance, multi-source universes. Information Design Tool has the functionality to import the classic relational UNV into the new model UNX. For those using business views from Crystal Reports, no change, no way, just upgrade it and you will have the support in Crystal Reports as it was. Lifecycle Management is now completely integrated into the install, so no separate install anymore. If you want to keep your existing version management system, you'll need to have that upgraded manually. Upgrade management tool. Report conversion tool, no change. If you move to BI 4.0, you won't be able actually to store your reports in the CMS. With BI 4.1, you can actually upgrade your reports into 4.1, but still connect using DCP. And as said, we'll cover that one in a later webinar. So how does this whole process look like? It's all fun, looks all simple. Actually, it isn't that rocket science. So let's start with it's an upgrade. Moving to BI 4.1 from any previous version is called an upgrade. When we're talking about a migration, it's moving from the old code line into the new code line. And we use the tool Upgrade Management for that. The Upgrade Management tool is available as a Windows-based graphical UI, but also available for Linux as a command line interface. And by default, it will be installed on the server side. So compared to Import Wizard, which you had in the previous versions, it was installed as a client tool. Upgrade Management tool is only installed on the server side. And there is nothing else to upgrade your existing XI content into BI 4.x. You may be able to find some forum topics where people move code line using a different technique. It's like trying to do it with lifecycle manager, promotion management, CMS database copies, or even by using unsupported switches that may be documented somewhere on a forum which are not supported by SAP. My recommendation, don't go that path. It will run into a problem. UMT is the only tool available for upgrading and the only tool that can do it properly if you come from an XIO2, SP2 or higher system. So the upgrade management tool, as we say, by Windows, it's a UI-driven, graphical UI-driven interface and exists out of 5 steps. If you do even a full upgrade, the upgrade management tool will actually be only 4 steps, because there's no step to select your content. The step number 1 is basically, what is your source system? What is my target system? You have to log on to the system. Number 2, so first step is actually select if you have a full or an incremental upgrade. Second step is define your systems. Third step is to select the objects that you want to upgrade, assuming you take an incremental. Step number 4 is, okay, so you selected X, Y, Z, so this is what we're going to do. Do you want to shoot? Do you really want to run it? Yes. That is step number 5. It will at the end give you an insight how many objects it has been preparing, updating, and at the end committing to the BI 4.1 stack, including a full object log. And we strongly recommend, if you're not familiar with Upgrade Management Tool, to run Upgrade Management Tool several times to get it as a feeling. Start getting experience how to use the tool, what are the best options to select, what are my incremental steps that I can define, how fast will it go to make a better project plan for the final upgrade. At the end, learning and playing are very close to each other. And we have successful customers upgrading them, their own environment, all by themselves. But what they spend is 6 months of playing around with the new version, but also how to run Upgrade Management Tool. What is the best approach? What is the best sizable change? What are the settings that we apply best to make it as smooth as possible? And maybe they once called a consultant for some validation, but 99.9% of their project plan has been executed all by themselves by just spending time in advance to learn how to use the tools. So what are some best practices that we learned? So the best practice for Upgrade Management Tool is basically apply the following business principles. Have a dedicated environment with only Upgrade Management Tool installed. This tool needs to be able to connect to your old system, your source system, and your BI 4.x system as a destination. Make sure that environment is big. The more memory, the better. The faster the network, the better. The faster the file system, the better. More memory, the faster the disks, the faster the CPUs, the faster your upgrade will be. But also, running UMT on a dedicated machine means that your source and target systems who are doing the extracting and the loading processes being directed by UMT can utilize the full power for that process as well. If I run UMT on my server that hosts also my BI stack, at the end are 2 processes requesting a lot of CPU running at the same time. So run all upgrades. So if you have incremental, all these upgrades from this upgrade environment. We also recommend to run incremental. You can do a full upgrade, and it just takes a considerable amount of time. And if something goes wrong, you spend a lot of time and have no results. And it is easily that you can decommission your upgrade environment after a successful upgrade and just reuse the hardware or the virtual hardware for other use cases. Additional best practice can be shared and found in our support environment or in our social network SCN, and they are all documented, and there's a link included in the slides that we are happily to share afterwards. So to give you also some further advice, we recently, yesterday, released the Upgrade Pattern Book, which is a step-by-step documentation of a real upgrade from XI 3.1 into BI 4.1 that our consultants, our technical experts have been doing on physical systems that are hosted in our environments. And this system is coming from an XI 3 environment where we have a complex environment, rather complex, multiple servers, a firewall, a and reverse proxy, using HTTPS, having dedicated file repositories, as we can see on the schema on the right side. That environment is upgraded, and we documented every step, everything that we did, every consideration that we made. It's all written down in this pattern book. So the scope, the landscape overview that is being used, what are the prerequisites that we defined as being required for upgrading this environment, what are the steps that we did to actually run the upgrade, what are the post-upgrade workflows that we did afterwards, like fine-tuning, validations on content and so on, and what are the known issues and challenges that we ran into or that we were aware of when we started running this project. So some key links to explore before you start running any upgrade is, of course, the BI 4.1 upgrade pattern book. However, we also have a site talking about the BI 4.1 process flows to really understand how upgrades are running, how the hardware is being utilized. It is recommended to look into these process flows, as some are mentioning about the upgrade processes, what services are being touched, and how this is going to go reacting on your system. However, there's also a dedicated wiki site about how to upgrade to BI4X with various links into detailed articles about special topics. So far, upgrading from an XI platform to a BI 4.x platform. One of those funny discussions that we have a lot with our customers is, if I'm existing customer using BI 4.x, 4.0, do I need to upgrade to 4.1? And then it's a very simple answer. No. 4.0 to 4.1 is not an upgrade, it's an update. And the major difference is that you can just apply a patch, just like applying a service spec. So you don't need to install a new system, move over all the content to a new system, do spend a lot of time in that process. You can just install a patch, and you upgrade your existing system from 4.0 to 4.1. So another misconception that we have a lot is, and unfortunately it's a documentation error as well, if you go through the patch guides, it tells you if you want to use an expanded set of ERP drivers available in this release, you will, as well as you must do a full install to get new features. That is not correct. A full install is not needed. After installing the SP 4.1, the 4.1 service patch into your existing 4.0 hardware, you can just go back to Add and Remove Programs, start the installer, take the new features and run it. And they're being enhanced, your installer is being expanded with the new functionality without the need of doing a full install. So what are your best practices for updating a BI 4.0 into a BI 4.1? And as I said, it's not an update. It's an update, not an upgrade, and definitely not even close to my. For 4.1 from a 4.0 is not typically a hard task. It's not a big project. and typically you don't need a lot of budget to run it. It's the same effort as applying a service pack on your existing install. So like moving from SP7 to SP8. If you follow the best practices, the install is rather easy. Disable certain services, so make sure there's nothing running except of the required services as the CMS and the file repositories. To speed up the process, we recommend to disable the antivirus. It's just going to be a lot faster. And in case you're not certain that all your services are being disabled or stopped, just check if there are any Java processes running around, which may be your report engines, and ensure they're being stopped. And then just run the install of the patch for 4.1. So don't go in Service Marketplace and download installers, BusinessObjects BI 4.1 and download the update, the patch. So go to patches and update instead of full installs, and just download the patch for 4.1. If you download the full installer, the installer will notify you that there is already a 4.x install running on this system, and by that not able to do that. So you need to have the update installer. Basically, we always recommend to take the latest version, but we are familiar that customers sometimes are hesitant to install the latest service pack, especially if there's no fixed spec, your patch yet released to that one. Actually today, and I just notify that one, we have Service Pack 4 released, which is already out there since July and is there on the market for a while. And then a best practice for running an update install can also be found on the link below. One very good interesting picture is if I actually have a cluster using BI 4.x, I can use a potential parallel patching. That is depending to which version you go to, as the install of the new version is depending on it. So as this example, for instance, I'm currently having a BI 4.0 Service Pack 8 Patch 3 system, and I want to update it to BI 4.1 Service Pack 4. I have multiple CMSs, I have multiple processing tiers, and I have multiple web application tiers. I have a dedicated file repository, I have a dedicated database repository, I have an Explorer install, I have Design Studio installed, and somebody did also install client tools on one of my cloud nesters. So just entering this kind of information will help you in giving an insight what would be the best way to patch your system. So if you have your existing 4.x system, and using this tool, it's an interactive advice, what is the best approach to upgrade your existing environment to a 4.1 patch, whatever. And it ends up, in this case, with 5 steps. Start updating your intelligence tier. And the intelligence tier is those that are running the CMS. And you can run them in parallel. So if I have 2 or more CMS servers, I can install the patch on all servers at the same time. So not one by one anymore. The same for the web tier and the processing tier servers. So reducing my patch time significantly, if I, in this example, have 6 servers to manage, which only takes me 2 time at the moment. Both intelligence tier at the same time, and both processing tier and web tier also at the same time. After that, potentially I need to update all Explorer engines on the relevant servers as a separate install, then update the client tools, and as final. And although I only showed you step 1 and 5, the steps in between is going through the same steps in a more detailed version. In the same release from yesterday, where we have the BI upgrade pattern book, we also released the BI update pattern book, where we updated a 4.1 SP4 system into 4.1 SP4 as well. Though I have the wrong interface picture here, it's not exactly the same hardware setup, because the technical layout is with mobile and everything around it. There's a lot more around it. Again, we documented every step that we did during the update from BI 4.0 into 4.1 SP4. We defined the scope, landscape overview, what are the prerequisites that we have to apply, what is the update workflow, what are the steps we did after upgrading or after applying the patch, and what are the known issues and challenges that we faced. And again, this is all written down and available on our SCN portal. So key links to explore for updating. Again, the pattern book. We spend a lot of time making these books, and they're really great. There's a patching strategy and best practices guide for parallel, including parallel patching, available again on SCN. And the interactive BI 4X cluster patch guide, as I've just been showing to you, is available using the later link at the bottom. Some further resources where you can start finding a lot of information, especially some detailed topics about upgrading content. Please have a look into SAP BusinessObjects BI.com/upgrade. This page is a dedicated page with a collection of need to understand, need to look into when going for an upgrade. There is even availability using this page. There are upgrade assessment settings available where you just enter information and provide you a template back with, hey, you should approach it X, Y, Z. So all available on this particular site. And if there are questions, there's even a feedback setting where you can send feedback back to our teams internally, and for recommendations, changes, issues that you run into on this particular website, let us know. And if you have complex questions that you cannot find the answer from, just fill in the response form. There are special buttons. With a few minutes going on, Adrian, are there questions available?
Thank you, Marilyn. There have been some questions coming in, but Henry has been very good in answering them. So I would ask anyone on the line, this is your opportunity to post any questions, and Marilyn or Henry, who is also online, can answer them. So we'll give a few seconds, Marilyn. We have one coming in from Dinesh Babu. Okay, he's just looks like he's saying thank you to Henry. But again, we'll wait for a few seconds here. And we have another question coming in from Sukesh and multiple other attendees. So a question from Dinesh Babu, is the import wizard going to be discontinued?
It is already discontinued. The import wizard has been end of life with XI 3.1, so as long as XI 3.1 is available, which is end of maintenance is December 2015 and end of life is December 2017. Until then, 2017, Import Wizard will be available, but Import Wizard is not capable of connecting to a BI 4.x system. For importing content into 4.x, you need to use Upgrade Management Tool.
Okay, yeah, and I think you emphasized that throughout. The UMT is the one and only.
Yes.
So we have a question coming in from SJ and other sources. So again, we'll wait a few seconds. Okay, from SJ, a question. In 4.0, client tools are not part of server installation. Is that the same in 4.1 also?
It is the same. There is no client install available for the server side. So if you install the server kit, there will be no client installed. Main reason for that one is that the server is a dedicated 64-bit system, while the clients can run also on 32 bits. So the installer will actually check if there's a 64-bit install of operating system available. And for the client tools, that is not necessarily. So if you want to deploy the client tools on the server side, you need to install separately the client install. However, we do not recommend to install client tools or actually use client tools on the server side, because it can potentially endanger the stability of your BI server.
Okay, thank you. And another question from Dinesh Babu. Does LCM need a dedicated server?
Well, no, it doesn't need. Yes, it is recommended. The reason why we would recommend a dedicated server for promotion management is that if there are new functions or features available in a later service pack for promotion management, it doesn't mean that you have to upgrade your full landscape. So you just have to upgrade your LCM system and you can benefit from all new functionalities. So as an example, if you today have a 4.0 SP7 install running, but you want to leverage from the latest innovations in LCM with BI 4.1 SP3 being added, like being able to do a full copy or even being able to run multiple or bigger promotion jobs. So we took out the recommendation of 100 objects per promotion. You just can upgrade your LCM install and have that system connect to any 4.x install, because we are downwards compatible. So there's definitely a benefit of having a dedicated system.
Okay, thank you. Another question from, well, the ID is a telephone number. In 3.1, it's 32-bit architecture, while 4.x is 64-bit. What would your recommendations be for setting of a fully fledged BI suite with respect to the hardware side? So, very generic.
That is nice. So we have a sizing estimator available, and we had already a webinar, if I'm not mistaken, dedicated about sizing.
Correct.
So my recommendation would be to take a review of the webinar, of the recording of the webinar that has taken place. There is no one-to-one answer to the question. It is depending on many factors. So my recommendation would be take the recording of the webinar that we did in the past, and based on that, start sizing.
Okay. Yes, and I'd like to re-emphasize that all the recordings are on the SCN webinar calendar page, and I did post that URL earlier. I'll do it at the end as well. So another question from Sukesh. Is DCP is part of the 3.1 client tools? Sorry, is DCP part of 3.1 client tools or 4.1 client tools? Will all 4.1 future patches be compatible with DCP?
So DCP, yes, is actually on both sides. So the DCP means a two-side install. So as of XI 3.1, SP6 Fixpack 1, DCP, the DESTI engine is made available to connect to a BI 4.1 CMS system. On the other side, in 4.1, we enabled the CMS as well as all tools supporting this kind of stuff, like upgrade management tool, be able to support the .rap file, so the classic DESTI documents. So as of XI 3.1 SP6 patch 1, any upgoing fix pack and service pack are capable of delivering the connectivity into the BI 4.1 engines, are supporting DESTI storage for the CMS.
Okay.
But we will continue that one in a dedicated webinar later on. So I recommend you keep track on our webinar series, as there will be a dedicated one on DCP and DESKI conversion.
Okay, thank you. And thanks also for Henry and Tracy who are answering these questions as they come in. I'll repeat some of them just in case you may have some more information that you can add verbally. So a question from SJ, does APS split need to happen manually in 4.1 like 4.0, or by default does the APS split happen in 4.1?
So pretty sure the answer has been that within 4.1 you have a system configuration wizard, which enables you to benefit from the default the best practices that we have been defining for 4.1, how to split your adaptive processing server depending on your hardware. I need to emphasize is best for your situation. If your hardware is not sufficient, you still may have performance issues.
Okay. Henry actually replied in the chat, the APS split can be done automatically via the CMC when using the configuration wizard. And
yeah.
SJ asked, configuration wizard.
And I think it's also in the deployment best practices session.
Okay. Well, SJ asked, is the configuration wizard a client tool in 4.1?
The system configuration wizard is embedded in the CMS, the Central Management Console. So that's the web page where you manage your system. So it's a web interface.
Okay. So a question from telephone number ID. He's trying to find the pattern book. I see the web page, but not an actual link to the pattern book. Are the child pages for the upgrade project scope, BI system, landscape overview, etc. available? Well, I think that's all. It should be all available from that URL.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure what the issue there is, whether they can't get to the child pages, but perhaps if the
So what happens if you enter the full link, as being recorded here now on the screen? That is the upgrade, so coming from XI 3.1 into BI 4.1. So give it a try, and okay, I will check with my my direct colleague who owns the topic.
And that URL was entered in the chat window earlier. So a question: does the license cost vary from 3x to 4.x? Again, pretty generic.
License. So if you have a license model, for instance, named user license, or a CPU-based license, you can, as long as you have been paying your support model, you have no need to change your license by 4.1. However, in some opportunities or some cases, it may be advisable to take a review over your CPU licenses and maybe start considering to use a CSBL license, which is the new model, where you're not bound to the so that may be more interesting, especially if you start hitting. But for that, executive who can tell you everything about this process.
Okay. We have another question coming in from telephone ID. We have XIR2, but not on maintenance, so wondering what the new licensing model is. Is there a link for that?
I'm not sure actually if we have that public. I would almost say check the SAP.com website and go to Analytics BI. But I'm not sure if we actually have it publicly available what our current license model is. So yeah, my recommendation again would be to have a chat with your account exec. And if you can't find one, let me know, let us know, and we'll help you out to direct you to the right resource.
Okay, and Henry has replied, for licensing issues like that, you need to engage with your account representative. Question from Dinesh Babu, can Excelsius dashboards be upgraded using UMT?
Sorry, there was a slight hiccup in the line. Can you repeat, please?
Yes. Question, can Excelsius dashboards be upgraded using UMT?
Yes.
Good. Sure.
UMT will, if you select all the dashboards, will nicely upgrade them into Excelsius BI 4.1. At the end, it's just a name change. Only if you have custom flex code in XI 3.1 in use, or even in a previous version, be aware that we changed the flex engine behind Excelsius to flex 4. So any custom code may need to have some revision.
Question from SJ. How about promotions of Explorer information space from 4.0 to 4.1?
As I say, 4.0 to 4.1 is nothing more than a patch. Your indexes will not be touched by that.
Sukesh has a question. What would be a major challenge that we would encounter if we use DCT? I heard about scheduling. Any other such things other than scheduling?
I think that question should be postponed to the next webinar.
Very good. Yeah.
But basically, scheduling means you have to have a Windows client somewhere running around with the DCP for scheduling, as we use Windows Scheduler for that one, and it needs to run on Windows 7 or higher.
Okay, thank you. A question again from the telephone number ID. How is the version control functionality of LCM?
So version management is supported via Subversion, which is an open source technology. We can also hook into Rational ClearCase for this, where the version management, we're not forcing it down. So you have an option to check in, check out your objects. With 4.x, you also have the ability to check in, check out your promotion jobs. So you can have an LCM BI file being exported into your version management system as well, and by that even keep track of your promotion jobs through time, and basically also revert a full set of reports at the same time into your production system if that is required. So version management is completely embedded in the central management console, so it's not a dedicated page anymore to check in and check out content, and based on security settings that you can grant to your end users, they can connect into the version management section of the CMC. Thanks to new security settings also in the CMC, you will now also be able to take out really any other link that a user may see or be able to use into the CMC while they're not being authorized for it. So you could offer them purely the promotion management and the version management links from the CMC if they log on to CMC.
Okay, thank you. We still have a couple coming in. We have a couple more minutes scheduled for this webinar, and so we'll take questions until then, or until they stop coming in. And again, thank you to Henry and Tracy and so on who are replying online. So there's actually a dialogue going on between Sukesh and Henry. So
I should switch my screen.
If anyone else has any questions for Mailline, then please, this is your opportunity. Not that I'm trying to stop Henry, who's doing some excellent.
I know Henry is well capable of answering the questions. The same for Tracy. I've been working with them, so
here's a question.
I have full confidence in them answering questions as well.
So a question from Bilal. Is there any major difference or improvement between BI 4.1 SB3 and BI 4.1 SB4?
There are several new enhancements in SB4 compared to SB3. Bear with me with the exact details. I need to look it up. We are still working. Basically, my main recommendation will be go to the release notes for SB4, where it states that where it is being recorded what is new. There's a what's new document available on the help.sap.com site.
Henry just published that in the chat for the what's new.
Thank you, Henry. One of the main things in SB4 is the ability to configure BI platform to leverage Lumira and Lumira server, where you can publish your Lumira content also in the BI platform. So you're having one single platform to so not two different systems. No.
We're getting your voice is cutting out, Marilyn.
I'm sorry for that.
It's not your fault. I think it's just the system. So we had that occasionally through the webinar, but mostly it was okay. So there's a question from Dinesh Babu. Shall we directly upgrade to 4.1? We are using XI 3.1. Henry's responded to that. Yeah. Another question. Just 2 days back, this from SJ, just 2 days back I read an article about BO 4.2 will be released in 2015. Do you recommend users to wait till 4.2 instead of upgrading from 4.0 to 4.1?
So I would say to start upgrading to 4.1, as going from 4.1 to 4.2 will just be a patch. It will be an update, so not massive time, and with, for instance, some functionality that you may be looking for, I don't know which it is. We cannot yet guarantee actually when. It will 2015, but it can be easily December 31st. And then the question is, of course, do you want to run 4.x.0 version, or do you prefer to wait for service pack? And you have to wait another 6 months. So my recommendation would be start using 4.1 and upgrade to 4.2 once you consider the time is ready for 4.2 updates. Sorry.
Yeah. So we're at the top of the hour. There are some questions coming in. If you're okay to stay, I know you may have to leave Marilyn.
No, I'm fine. I
Okay.
blocked my agenda for a few more.
Very good. So we'll just take a few more questions if they're coming in. So last chance, everyone. Well, not quite last, but so Sukesh, a general question: will SAP remodel licensing costs? I heard about BO to SSRS projects, so thought of asking this when I have an opportunity.
Our license model has been changed compared to XR. So the named user-based license has been still the same. The CPU-based license does not exist anymore if you want to buy new licenses. That is being replaced with the CSBL, which is a concurrent session license. And in that case, we have packages of 25 users, concurrent users license model. And at the end, we don't mind even if you just throw 100 servers against it. That is all covered by your license. So yes, there are definitely changes, and my recommendation would be to have a talk with your sales representative, whether it's an SAP or partner representative, to discuss what is the best option.
Okay, that sounds good. And Henry has responded to which patch is the best one, and Henry responded SB4 is really good. Okay, I think we're at the end of the questions. Maybe Dinesh Babu has one. Henry is dropping off.
He's probably have another call.
Well, he's done very well.
Thanks, Henry.
So Dinesh Babu, if there's a question, please enter it now.
And otherwise, you can reach your questions also using the SAP BusinessObjects BI sap.com/upgrade page where you have an option to say ask the expert, and the system send an email to our experts, including myself.
Okay. A statement from telephone number ID. We installed the latest 4.1 SB4 patch. And so far, so good. Well, that's good.
That is good to hear. Keep up the good work.
Okay. If there are no more questions, I don't think anyone's entering anything. Well, having said that, yeah, looks like people are saying thank you, and well, thank you to everyone. I'll give one last second. Looks like Sukesh is typing something. Okay, again, a thank you. Well, thank you again.